The Harris administration finally released photos from inside the migrant detention centers down at the border after months of denying journalists access because, well, since the Democrats refused to allow President Trump to complete the border wall, there's been a record number of illegals surging into our country because they know that old Joe's gonna just grant them citizenship. And some people are wondering about the conditions of these facilities due to the obvious overcrowding, but the Harris administration refused to acknowledge that it was a crisis, just calling it a situation. And they finally released some photos showing what Project Veritas showed us the day before. Because Project Veritas obtained some photos from a source inside the facilities showing that it's never been this bad. And when Project Veritas announced that they had the photos and then they were going to be releasing them the next day, then what a surprise! The next morning, Axios, another one of these newer online outlets that's funded with tens of millions of dollars from liberal donors and investors, decided to release some photos that they had that they were sitting on and tried to scoop Project Veritas. Axios figured since the cat's gonna get let out of the bag, they might as well publish the story instead of sitting on the photos any longer, and then scoop Project Veritas and get some clicks and ad revenue instead. Then when President Kamala was asked if she's gonna go down to the border and tour the facilities to see what the heck's going on down there with her own eyes, she laughed.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today. But I have before, and I'm sure I will again. Yeah.
Remember when that gigantic caravan came across the border under the Trump administration and the centers got pretty crowded and all the Democrats were complaining about it, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hopped on a plane and flew down there and broke down into tears and became a meme? Well, of course, you would think that she's absolutely furious about it happening again, especially under the Harris administration, right? No. No, because by condemning it, she would be acknowledging that it exists, and Democrats don't do that to problems, and she doesn't want to tip off her millions of Twitter followers about the problem, because they're so out of touch that they have no idea what's going on. And since the photos have been published and are going viral through social media, the Democrats are having a hard time explaining what's happening, so maybe they should listen to one of the migrants explain.
Would you have tried to do this when Donald Trump was president?
Definitely not. Definitely. We had the chance, the same violence that's going on today was there last year. We used to watch the news, and I definitely won't do this.
So did you come here because Joe Biden was elected president?
Basically. The main thing was the violence in my country. And the second thing, I think, was Joe Biden. It's like lighting up my hope.
Half of them are wearing Biden's shirts, and then that other group said that old Joe gave them 100 days to get here.
I want for my people, I just want patience and pace that we can get to the U.S. because they're having a new president. Where's Biden? He's going to help all of us. He's given us 100 days to get to the U.S. and give us legal mental paper so we can get a better life for our kids and family.
But never forget how the liberal media reacted when the facilities became a little overcrowded under the Trump administration.
Well, the images suggest those of concentration camps.
The Statue of Liberty, I think, is weeping right now.
There's no denying that this is an incredibly complex humanitarian issue that's, of course, made even more difficult by the fact that we're dealing with this in the midst of a pandemic.
He will be forever remembered as the president who traumatized little children.
A lot of these children are part of a problem that the Biden administration inherited from the Trump administration.
The system is broken inside of the country.
Increasingly, Donald Trump is turning this nation into Nazi Germany and turning these into concentration camps.
I call this a concentration camp for kids.
Obviously, this is a problem that the Biden administration inherited from the Trump administration.
Babies in jail.
Babies in baby cages.
Challenges facing U.S. Border Patrol amid this migrant surge.
Babies in jail.
A very, very tough situation that the Biden administration now needs to contend with.
Something that's very difficult for the federal government to deal with at the border.
Children are being marched away to showers. I know they're being marched away to showers, just like the Nazis.
You have a lot of border agents, you know, the union was very pro-Trump, who are now starting to just leak out videos anonymously, which can be very dangerous where we don't know where things are coming from.
We begin this afternoon with the wails of children.
Fox News decided to call President Trump to get his assessment on the situation and the latest instance of the Democrats' hypocrisy, and then decided to embarrass themselves by finishing it like this.
Before I let you go, just real quickly, most presidents, ex-presidents like yourself, do not weigh in at this level. Why did you feel like you needed to on this issue?
Well, you called me. I didn't call you, in all fairness, but...
Classic Trump, but there's another answer to that question, and that's because both Obama and George W. Bush broke the long-standing unwritten rule that former presidents do not publicly weigh in on the current administration. They just go off into retirement, or they do some charity work, or when they have public appearances, it's about kind of general topics. They never criticize the current administration. That had been a long-standing rule for decades, perhaps even longer, but Obama and George W. Bush, Skull and Bones member, of course, third generation Skull and Bones, just couldn't keep their mouths shut and continuously complained about President Trump. So since not just one but two former presidents from two different parties decided to put an end to that long-standing tradition, I guess that means that President Trump is free to throw his 2 cents in on various issues, which is great considering rumor has it that he may be returning to social media in the next few months. And let's not forget Beto O'Rourke's genius idea from when he thought he was going to become the next president for preventing this crisis from happening in the first place.
Would you, if you could, would you take the wall down now? Here.
Yes.
Like you have a wall.
Absolutely.
Knock it down.
I'd take the wall down.
And do you think the city, if there's a referendum here in this city, that would pass?
I do. Here's what we know.
If you read Pat Buchanan's book, The Death of the West, or you know about the New World Order, then you understand what's happening. President Trump was holding the dam back from bursting, and since he's no longer there, well, the end of America is upon us. There are various sociological models that explain what's happening to the United States right now, like the Tytler cycle, which identifies the various different phases that a society goes through from its beginning to its ultimate collapse. For example, it starts off under bondage, under a king, or under a fascist ruler, and then people have faith that they can stop it, then they have the courage to, then they get liberty, they get their freedom, then they have an abundance, then they become selfish, then they become complacent, then apathy sets in, then dependence on the government, free handouts from old Joe, and then you cycle back into bondage. But instead of talking about the crisis at the border, or God forbid, securing it, the Democrats on Capitol Hill are talking about making Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states. I mean, heck, might as well throw Guam in there at this point. And if you don't know what the globalist plan is for the New World Order, then you definitely need to read my books. So get them in paperback from Amazon.com or download the ebook from any of the major ebook stores, or click the link down in the description below and check them out.